Hello and welcome to 3D for Dummies. Today we're going to rig a bow and arrow utilizing a ribbon spine stretch technique, which is used in the industry for stretch values. And I will also teach you exactly how to set that up for a game engine, right? So I'm going to go to show all so you can see the setup. So you'll be able to actually pull as much as you can if you want. We have full stretch values along with, of course, a game-based single chain skeleton. So why don't we just get started? And thanks to Timothy Joyce, which is the modeler for this rig. Let me just show you what it looks like. So thank you, Timothy, for the amazing bow and arrow. Let's get started. We will first start by going to File and Set the Project. Check the Dropbox link and just make sure that you have the basic common bow underscore project, but take the student one. Though it's the only one available, so make sure that you have it, download it, and also download the shelf that is also provided on the link. So I'm going to select my own for right now, set the project, and hit Control O. You will open up the basic common bow rig underscore V001. You won't have this, and you won't have this one either. This is my own personal set project folder, but you will have this one in. So open it so you can open the model, and thank you, Timothy Joyce, for the bow and arrow. So what we have now is just the model itself. You can open the outliner and let's get started. That's the mesh, and we're going to keep everything clean and organized. So hit spacebar and let's take a look at the front negative Z view. We're going to turn off the grid. We're going to open up the joint tool right here, grab the shelf, import it, right, under Documents, Maya 2022 or 2020, and Preferences, Shelves, and drag and drop it in there, right? So let's get started with the top part of the bow right here. We're going to start with a joint alignment right here. So let's start here. And you don't see your joint, so please turn on the X-ray joint tool right here so you can see exactly where you locate those joints. So here's one, here's two. We're going to do a couple of them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. 11 joints. Let's name these joints properly. Open up the hypergraph from the shelf. This is where you might need to open the shelf or upload the shelf. Hit the letter F so that now we can rename these joints from 1 to 11. Simply marquee select the hierarchy and look for the search and replace tool right here. See, you work efficiently when you get the shelf. Now you understand. I'm not going fast. I'm just utilizing the shelf because it is convenient. We're going to replace joint, the word joint, on search for, and we're going to replace it with bow underscore up, right? You're going to type bow underscore up, right? So now we have to rename that single chain hierarchy. Hit apply so that now if you take a look at the hypergraph, we have all these joints already named correctly, right? Let's also select the first joint and use the joint orientation tool right here. See, this will orient your joints properly. So no matter what you do, you can marquee select all of them and you can rotate these joints if you would like to, just so that you can have a really nice curvature for that matter. Let's select the bow underscore one up. We're going to take a look at the skeleton tool right here. We're going to mirror these joints right here, open up the optional display, and from there what we will do is set the mirroring across to X and Z, right? So make sure that you have that in this file. Mirroring function as behavior, and we're going to search for underscore up, right? So you're going to type underscore up because we're looking for up, and we're going to replace it with, when we mirror these joints at the bottom part of the bow, we're going to replace it with underscore down. Right, so please make sure that you select the top hierarchy of bow underscore up and hit apply so that now we have the upper and the lower part of the arc, right? So, right, pretty fast and easy when you utilize that shelf. We're also going to create just a root skeleton for the bow, right? So it'll be pretty simple. Just select the bow underscore down one or the up one, hit Control D, and just make sure to delete everything. So we only need one joint out of this chain, which is right here. And I want you to bring this up, right? We're on the side view, so I already know that this is definitely located properly. And I want to set that radius and use Control middle mouse drag for this, right? So now this is set. We're going to call this one root. That is the main root skeleton. The next thing is to select the top hierarchy and the lower hierarchy, shift select the new root skeleton, and hit the letter P, so that now we have a single chain hierarchy ready for a game engine. We're not finished yet, but let's keep it moving. Okay, let's create arrows for the joints, or joints for the arrows. I went backwards on this one. Awesome. Let's select the joint tool again. Start from the back of the arrow, and we'll finish this up at the tip of the arrow right here. We're going to hit enter and rename these joints. So Control double left mouse click, and let's call this one back underscore arrow joint, arrow JNT. I'm going to copy that prefix and Control double left mouse click, paste it, and this will be front arrow joint. So now we already have the joint set up for my arrow, right smack in the middle. Let's go back spacebar to the side view. So we already have the arrow set. Now we need to recreate another root skeleton, and you will understand why we need to do this. I need you to duplicate just that arc right here, just a root skeleton. Let me open up the hypergraph so you can see it. Right, we're going to duplicate this one again. You're going to hit Control D. So here's another duplicate, but guess what? We don't need anything else other than this particular joint itself. So you can delete everything else, and we're just doing the same protocol as before, right? We're going to take that radius, boost it up, and that will be it, right? So this will be the root for the arrow and the strings as well. You will understand why the strings. We're going to use a pretty cool ribbon spine technique, but the ribbon spine was not built for single chain hierarchies, which means game engine. So now we have this skeleton, and we're going to call this one root. Control double left mouse click, put an underscore, and we're going to put root arrow underscore string. So we already know this is the root for the arrow and the string, right? So now we can select the back arrow joint, shift select the new root skeleton for the arrow and the strings, and hit the letter P, so that now we have that parented, right? The last thing we need to do just for the arrows and the bow, just select the root arrow string, shift select the original root skeleton, which will be the main root, and hit the letter P again, right? So now we have a real single chain hierarchy. So if you select the root skeleton, this will highlight the entire bow and arrow. And just because we have another root skeleton for the arrow, we can take that arrow anywhere we want, right? But it's still connected to the bow, so that it goes inside the engine without an issue. So let's create some IKs now. Hit spacebar, and let's use the X-ray tool. If you don't really see your joints clearly, just simply select a root skeleton and create a display layer. Let's name this one skeleton and use the red button right here. Hit save, so that now when you take a look at your hierarchy, it is red. Let's work with IKs. We need to make this bend now, right? We're going to make IKs and controllers, which is going to go pretty fast. Let's select the IK tool. Double left mouse click on the tool settings, and please make sure that the current solver is set to rotate. So let's start. We won't waste any time. Select the first joint from the top right here. bow up 1, and we're going to finish this off right here by the attachment of the string, which will be the 10th joint. Right, so now we have created that IK handle. You want to see how it works? Here it is. So now we have a clean bend. Let's do the same thing for the other side. Create another IK handle, set the current solver to rotate plane. We're going to start with the first joint, and we're going to finish this off at the last one right here so that we have that set. Test it out and hit Control Z because you cannot freeze transform an IK. Let's name these IKs. Here's IK1. Let's put an underscore and put top. And for the second one, we'll put bottom, right? We'll keep it simple. There. So now that we have these IK handles, let's create controllers. By creating controllers, we want to stick to simplicity with just a curve, NURBS, circle. Let's make sure that we scale it, right? Bring it down. We're going to double group it just to keep it safe, right? We also would like to pivot that controller to the 10th joint, right? This is joint 10, by the way. If you select it, bow underscore down 10. Very important for you to do that. Let's rename this controller right here. Control double left mouse click. We'll call this one bow underscore low underscore CTL for controller. Let's double group this controller. To double group, select the controller. Let's clean that up first. Hit the Alt script. Hit Control D to duplicate it. Let's Control double left mouse click on that new duplicate. Put an underscore and put GRP. Hit OK. You can now delete the shape and bring the controller. Now, if you don't have your shapes available, by the way, go to Option, Display, and turn on your shape nodes. You want to make sure that if you double group anything, your shape nodes display are turned on. This will allow you to see the shape and the transform. So let's select the controller, shift select the group for the last selection, and hit the letter P, so that now we have double grouped our controller. Let's duplicate this controller, hit Control D, and let's bring it up, right? We just want to work efficiently, and from the top group, hit the letter V to snap it to the 10th joint on top. And make sure that you snap it correctly. Take your time for it. And then you can use the Alt script for the group. Alt script for the controller. It was already clean, but that's fine. We're also going to rename, Control double left mouse click the new controller. So this will be top. Right. This will be top. Right, and now we have the top and the bottom controller. The next thing we want to do is to parent this controller to the IK handles, right? So let's open up these controllers. There's the IK handle top. What I want you to do is select the IK handle, shift select the controller from the top, and hit the letter P. So that now when we select this controller, it takes over the arc from the top, right? Let's do the same thing for the bottom part one more time. Select the IK handle, shift select the controller, and hit the letter P. We're not even working with parent constraints. We want to do this one pretty quick. There are no complexities to this rig, by the way. You just animate it and send it over straight to the engine, or maybe Motion Builder. And we're also going to take a look at the character itself too. We have a couple of characters from Mixamo in there. Let's not forget, just a quick reminder that under your set project folder, which is this one right here, you have assets and you have animation in there, and your ribbon spine will be on your assets folder, right? So you also have a couple of textures in, and that's pretty much it. There are some source images too for the bow and the arrow. Just a quick reminder. Here we go. Okay, so now we have the controller from the bottom working and controller from the top currently working. And now it's time for us to bring the ribbon spine. Now this ribbon spine has, I custom built this one for a game engine. It's still not a single chain, but we will make it a single chain once we set that up. Let's go to File and import the ribbon spine under the Assets folder. There's the new ribbon spine. Make sure to select it and import. Also, when you use namespaces, just make sure that when you scroll down, that you merge into selected namespaces, just the third option right here, and hit import. Right, so now we have the ribbon spine. Right, so this will be the master controller, the TRS for the ribbon spine. Just so that you can experiment a little bit how this works. This will allow you to use stretch values. It is commonly used in the industry also. It's an old technique, by the way, right, to create stretches. And you can both. There's a twist in there and a sin wave in there if you are interested for later on. We'll go, I can make another tutorial on how to create this for the game engine. But for right now, let's hit spacebar, and then after, let's rotate. So let's rotate that spine for a -90 on rotation Z. Right, and let's locate the spine correctly. We're going to follow the order of the string because these joints will be binded to the string. And also, if these joints tend to be a little bit too big for you, you can marquee select these and use the radius, control middle mouse drag, and just make them smaller so that you have a better perspective on how this is going to work, right? All right, so let's select the perspective and let's bring this up just a bit. Right, we're going to put this one right smack in the middle, and we're going to bring this up so now we can stretch it to as far as we can. Right, there it is. I'm also going to just snap it right here. All right, we're going to snap this one to this joint. There it is, right? And I'm also going to select the lower controller, and let's bring this up just a bit. All right, so that's pretty much it for this one. All right, pretty easy, right? So let's import the second one. Import the second ribbon spine. We're going to do this again one more time and do the same process. Select TRS, so one for the top and one for the bottom, and you will understand exactly why we're doing this. So let's rotate that ribbon spine again one more time and hit -90. I hope I'm not going too fast for you, right? You can slow it down if you would like. We're going to move that up right here. Awesome, and do the same process again. Welcome to rigging. Select these joints, and let's take that radius down just a bit, and we're going to basically set the alignment for these joints right on that string so we can bind it after, right? Put it right smack in the middle just like we did before. We're going to snap the lower controller right here to the 10th joint. So let's pull this down just a bit. And let's hit the letter V so we can snap it to the 10th joint so that now we have an alignment, right? You could get confused with the top controller and the bottom controller. So if it does, let's make the, there it is. Let's make the first and the last one from the top. Let's make them blue so that we already know that these are the top, and we'll make the bottom ones yellow. So let's, please don't forget to hit Ctrl-Shift-S and name your file. So you can name it 002. I'll call it mine 003 because I already have one, but for you 002. So we already know that this is the top, this is the bottom. So let's get ready also to create these functions right? Remember how these controllers now take over the IK? So what we really want to do at this point is to have this controller follow this controller, right? So let's do this right now. Select this controller, and let's see if maybe this is double grouped. Select this controller and hit the letter F, right? As you can see, the tip controller is also double grouped, so we can take the double group as well, or just the controller itself. Doesn't really matter. We're not going to do anything too crazy or animate this controller at all, but there's a choice too, right? But we're going to do it on that controller. Select the Bolo controller, shift select the tip controller for the ribbon spine, and please follow carefully. Do not use a parent constraint, just a point constraint. Open the optional display. You can maintain offsets if you like. Hit apply. Actually, you do need to maintain offsets, right? So that now when we select this bow, the ribbon spine now follows. And that's exactly what we want, right? All right, we're going to do the same process, but on top, right? So let's make sure that this is the mother, shift select, this is the child, and let's go for a point constraint so that now these two are following as well. Okay, so now that we have that covered, we're going to create a controller, right, for the pull. So we want to have these two controllers pull back this way, right? So it's not perfect yet, but we're going to find a really nice technique on how to set that up. The next thing we need to do is create another curve. And on that curve, we're going to pull it back and scale it and double group it and name it, right? Keep it very simple. So here it is. Controller, clean it, name it. Let's call this one pull CTL controller. Awesome. Let's make it red. There it is. Awesome. Let's double group it. Hit Control D. If you don't have the display options right here for shapes, turn them on right now on the outliner. You can do it in the hypergraph, but I'm going to do this one pretty fast, right? Select the controller, right? We deleted the shape for the duplicate, just like we did before, like on the hypergraph. You can see it. I'm going to hit Control Z so you can see it, right? That's the duplicate. Delete the shape. Rename this one. We'll call this one _GRP for group. We'll take the controller, shift select the group, and hit the letter P. We're almost done with the rig, by the way. That's right. And it's going to be very flexible and easy to animate. So now that we have that controller, we want to make sure that this controller will take over. There it is. We'll take over this and this one, right? Or we'll constrain both of them at the same time. I want to make sure that I'm going to take this group and I'm going to put it right smack in the middle right here, and then I can shape the controller itself. But I do need that pivot in the middle. I really want that pivot in the middle. It's very important that my pivot blends in with the string. Awesome. All right, I can still use the all script, and now I'm all set. All right, so quite a few controllers in there, so be very careful, right? This is the pull controller. I'm going to just pull just one vertex so that I know this is easy to select, right? And let's add another color to this one. We'll make it yellow. Right? 2 yellow controllers, but then again, that's fine. All right, so let's create this constraint. Select the first controller, select the lower controller right here, and then create a point constraint. Do the same thing for the other controller. This will be the mother. This will be the child, right? That's the controller for the ribbon spine on the top. And use a point constraint so that now when you select the pull controller, right? So we didn't do anything too crazy, right? Just 2 point constraints. We're almost there. Did you notice that when I pull, this curve is not linear? This needs to be a linear curve, right? This needs to be straight. So we're going to make that straight right now. We're going to use an aim constraint, right? So that when we pull this, well, this controller will aim at the pull controller. It makes sense, doesn't it? Let me show you why. Select the first controller right here for the pull. Shift select the ribbon top controller. Go to constraint, and this time use an aim constraint. So that now when you select the pull controller, you'll notice that it aims at the pull controller. And you see how much linear this is? Let's keep it more linear, right? You see that it curves right here? That's not the way a bow and arrow should be. So we're going to use a reverse aim constraint now. So that when I pull this one, I want this controller to aim at that controller. I know you're probably like, what? Why are you doing this, Gary? Why? I'll show you why. Select the controller. Now shift select the top bow top controller, right? Not the ribbon spine one. Go to constraint and do another aim constraint so that now when you select this controller, we have this linear feel to it, right? Sorry, my apologies. Hit Control Z, hit Control Z. It was supposed to be this one. Let's do this again, one more time. Select the lower ribbon spine controller right here, right? Shift select the bow underscore top controller. Oh, sorry, this is the mother. So select the bow underscore top controller. Shift select the tip controller from the ribbon spine, which is the lower one from the top. Go to constraint and aim constraint. So that now when you select the bow, right, we're getting that linear feel. That's exactly what we want. The easy part is to bind. We won't need any cleanups for the bind at this point. Maybe a light one, but let's do the same thing for the other side, right? So we're going to do this again one more time. The first step was to have an aim constraint, right? So when we pull, we just want this controller to aim at this direction, right? So let's do this right now. This will be the mother, and this will be the child, right? This is the lower controller for the bow. Mother and child. This is the lower ribbon spine controller right here. Constraint and aim. So that now when we pull, right, you'll notice that we have this linear feel. We still need an aim constraint for this one. So let's do this right now. For this one, now this will be the mother, and this controller will be the child. So we sort of like reversed those aim constraints. Constraint and aim. So that now when we select that controller, everything is linear. And now we can bind the skin, right? But look how cool this is. Now we can actually pull back as much as we want, right? We can even make it a really funny animation, but that's the beauty of the ribbon spine. Very powerful tool. And we rigged this thing in less than 25 minutes. All right, let's do a little cleanup, and that's it. We're done, and we're going to bind the skin. And I'll show you just a quick example on how this works. Or we'll animate. Now, the really cool part is that once you make the pull, right, you can anticipate with this thing, right? You'll have an extra controller where you can add a little jiggle to it. How cool is that, right? All right, so let's work on this. Let's do a little cleanup. We're not going to need this master controller anymore. You're going to hit Control A, look for its shape, open up Object Display, and turn off the LOD visibility. We're going to do the same thing for this one. Turn off the LOD visibility. Right? We no longer need these two top controllers from the ribbon spine. Right? These are the two controllers from the ribbon spine in the middle. It's chaotic. There's chaos right now. So turn off their visibility. You can hit Control H for these, but that's fine. My apologies. Control Z. Control Z. Shift select. Hit Control H. I would rather use Control H, right? We no longer need these two right there on top as well. Hit Control H, right? We want to keep this clean now. We're also going to create a controller for the arrow, which will be pretty easy. Let's go to Curves, create a NURBS curve circle, rotate there. Let's keep it here. Rotate at a 90 value, hit -90. Right, there it is. What I want you to do is to actually use the All script. Go to Rigging, use the All script, use the letter D, pull that back, aim it at the end of the arrow or the beginning of the arrow right there, and hit the letter D. So now we're all set. That's the pivot for this controller. We're going to call this controller arrow _CTL, arrow controller. Let's double group it. One more time, double grouping as usual. Hit Control D, delete the shape, Control double left mouse click, GRP, select the arrow controller, shift select the group, and hit the letter P. I'm going fast now because double grouping should be a norm. If you select a group, you'll notice that the pivot is still there. Right? So now we can select the controller, shift select the arrow, and use a parent constraint. Pretty easy, right? All right, we're going to bind everything in just a few minutes. Let's do a little cleanup again. All right, let's create a master controller. So this will be our main TRS. Let's keep it lower. Awesome. There it is. And bigger. Let's move it. Let's put it in the middle, top view. All right, so this will be in the middle of my circles right here. Awesome. Let's clean it up. Use the rigging script, rigging shelf. Let's make this one red. You got the red button right here from the shelf. Make sure to get it on that Dropbox link. All right, so we can do a little scale. Get ready for our scales right now. So this will be my TRS controller, CTL. TRS stands for Translate Rotate Scales. We're going to double group that controller, and I believe this will be the last task for the rig. Rename it, GRP. We're double grouping everything just like we did before. Hit P. That's why I'm going a little bit faster. So now we have the TRS controller set. So why don't we just, right now, as we speak, why don't we just create a single chain hierarchy? Because we do have the rig set, right? We're going to bind these joints. But before I bind them, you need to understand that these joints are not single chained, right? So they will be parented. We will create duplicates, right? And parent them to this joint. Or we can actually bake it and then have to parent them after, but it doesn't really. There's multiple techniques to do it, right? All right, so let's work with this. Let's select the root skeleton, shift select the TRS. Let's open up the hypergraph so you can see exactly where this stands, right? And hit the letter P. So now just the joints are parented to this one. Let's select this controller as well, the arrow and the pull controller. Arrow and the pull controller, they're a top group, right? So this one and this one. Shift select the TRS and hit the letter P. Do the same thing for the rest of them, right? Select this controller, shift select the other controller, make sure that you grab their top groups, mount their controller, select the TRS and hit the letter P. Right? We also need the master controller for the ribbon. You can select this controller right here. Unfortunately, the master controller has been hidden, right? So what I could do is just bring it back to normal. So let's see where they are. Select the middle controller, hit the letter F. Right? I want to make sure that the top controller for this one is available. So we're going to look for it. It should be called root. There it is. Root controller has been turned off. So if I turn it back on, no, that's the other one. Let's do not the tip. I do believe it's the middle one. Select the middle controller. No, that's not it. Oh, there it is. Sorry. Ribbon TRS shape. Ribbon TRS. There it is. Right. So that shape has been turned off. I'm going to. There it is. It's called Ribbon TRS shape. Hit Control A and simply turn back on the LOD visibility, because this is the TRS for the ribbon spine, right? So this controls the entire ribbon spine. So you want to make sure that you select this one, shift select the TRS and hit the letter P. So my apologies if you had to make this one pop up again with the LOD visibility, but you can turn it back off after. Let's look for the lower one too, right here. Hit the letter F, and there it is, ribbon TRS. You'll notice that the shape is grayed out, and just make sure that on the attribute editor you turn back on the visibility, or you can simply just select the ribbon TRS, shift select this one and hit the letter P. Awesome, right? You'll also notice that the ribbon spine has a setup with these joints right here, right? They're called UE joint groups, right? And we're going to bind these joints. My apologies, there it is. And we're going to bind these joints to the string. So these will be the joints for the arrow. I want you to select the first joint and the last joint, which are called Unreal Joints Group. Shift select the root skeleton for the arrow right here. See that? It's called root arrow string, and hit the letter P. So now these are single chained. They're ready to go for the engine on the top. Let's make them ready on the bottom. Select, my apologies, select the one of the joints right here and hit the letter F. And we're going to do the same thing for this one. Joint 1, shift select joint 9. All the joints are selected, and do the same process again. Shift select the root arrow string and hit the letter P. And voila, that is it. Your rig is now completed. You can still select your arrow, right? You can move it. You can scale it if you like, right? Now it's time for us to bind it. Let's bind these joints to, well, we're going to go through them one by one, right? All right, so let's do this. Why don't we just start with the top right here, right? So let's open up the hypergraph. And for the hypergraph, there it is. Open it. Apologies, there it is. Awesome. All right, so we're going to start with the arc. We're going to start with the root all the way to bow 1 to 10 up, and then shift select again the bottom side. So that's the top and that's the bottom. That's all we need. We don't really need the last one right here, 10, or the 11th one. So let's just make sure that we deselect this one. So that will be our first binding. So we're going to bind 3 times. One for the string, one for the arc, and one for the arrow. Shift select the mesh that needs to be binded. Here it is. Shift select it. Right, so that's 1, 2, 3. With these right there. It looks like we have bow lower. There's a grip. Yep, that's the mesh. Let's make sure that we go to skin. Bind the skin. There it is. And please allow multiple bind poses. Hit apply. Let's do the same thing for the arrow now. Simply select the arrow joint, shift select the mesh, and use bind skin. Let's do the same thing now for these joints right here. There they are. We can easily select them right there through the setup. There they are. All right, so that'll be joint 1 through 18. Now we have all of our joints selected. And I do believe there's a back arrow joint right here. Let's see exactly where these joints stand. No, that's the back arrow. That's fine. Let's go from 1 through 18. We need to select the string. Right. I wanted to keep the binding as the last process. Let's go to skin and bind. Awesome, right? So if the joints interfere with you right now, right, you do have a skeleton tab, so you can turn it off. Right, we no longer need the ribbon spine, so shift select both of the NURBS and hit Control H so that it doesn't interfere with that. We can also hide the IK handles. Let's look for those IK handles. They're hard to find now because, well, take a look at this chain. It's insane, right? Are you insane in a membrane? Let's go to Show and turn off IK handles. Right, so we keep it clean right now. Let's test it out too. So if we pull the string, now we're getting some really nice fine results. And look at that, we can stretch to as far as we can. Yeah, no, I'm not going to say it. I had a comment about someone who told me you yay too much, so I won't do it anymore. I'm now serious. You still have the arrow in, so it kind of looks like I missed some mesh for the arrow. I'm going to shift select here. I'm going to shift select all of my meshes. And I'm going to unbind the skin. So that was my my fault. I should have selected all of my meshes correctly, right? We're going to bring the skeleton back. It's pretty easy, right? Just make sure that you unbind it first and rebind it after, right? So there it is. Not that crazy, right? So here it is. You have your master controller. Now you can move it. You can animate it. You can constrain the arrow to a hand or something, but that will be the bow and arrow. And don't forget that you can also add more anticipation to this one, right? And look at how refined this is, right? This is why I really wanted to build this cool technique with these stretch values as well, right? And let's not forget that you also have more anticipation to animate after. All right, thank you for watching. And I'll send you also a little snippet of what this animation would look like on our next tutorial. Have a good one.